And of course, we don't do the mobile access. That's the task that we feel are enhancement, that adding values to the application as opposed to be just cost of porting. So my last slide is going to be before question is this a real life illustration? A company with 18 notes databases that they've used for over 10 years, a lot of data, a lot of fields, a lot of complexity. It took them a couple of days to using the EscapeNotes tool to migrate that data and the forms and the UI and everything else, mostly because they kind of poke and chose what they wanted to migrate in the elapsed time. And finally, they they decided they were going to invest in enhancing this application. So they contracted for 1 week of modification to get workflow and dashboards. That's real case study. It gives you an order of magnitude of what it took to migrate this application. Harry, I think I'm done. Pretty time for questions.
Thanks, Francois.
Harry?
Yeah, can you hear me there okay?
Yes, yeah. I can, thank you.
Great, thanks, Francois. Yeah, I mean, I think as you can see there, the concept and the ability of EscapeNotes to get down to such a granular level on the Lotus Notes application can give you, the person responsible for these legacy applications, comfort that you can truly understand their importance to the business currently, or indeed their lack of importance, or their sophistication or their lack of sophistication. And having done that analysis using the EscapeNotes tool, the ability of the tool then to migrate those applications, as you saw there, Francois demonstrated, which I think is really impressive, the ability to actually carry over the interface if you so choose. In many cases, you choose not to, because Force.com itself as a platform has a very easy to use and a very, as I say, easy to use interface. But there are so many features which I think EscapeNotes can allow you to bring across so easily. I think what's also very interesting about this approach is that you can spend most of your time concentrating, having done the migration, concentrating on newer features that you would like to add into your application currently in Notes, but that would be very difficult to do. For example, again, Francois mentioned reporting. Reporting is in Force.com, and for those of you who are using the Sales Cloud or the Service Cloud on Salesforce, is very intuitive, very simple, drag and drop, provides some really first-class reporting, visually attractive, easily accessible BI to all of your users. Visual workflow, a big part of the Force.com platform. Build your workflows using the visual workflow tool. And increasingly, all the time, mobile access. So I've taken my Lotus Notes applications, I've brought them across to Force.com. Now I'm focusing on making that application accessible through mobile. And through all the innovations that Salesforce as a company are taking from a mobile perspective, there's some fantastic opportunity to take what was an old application sitting in Notes and suddenly make it a real company star. Finally, and just the last point I'm going to make, and then we'll take any questions if there are any, and we've had this conversation, I've had this conversation with Francois and Athena and the EscapeNotes team many times. As Francois mentioned, like the team at Blue Wave, they have Notes experience building the tool going back over 20 years, as do we in terms of consultants. What's interesting for me is that the EscapeNotes team looked at building a migration tool for SharePoint, for Oracle, for WebSphere, and came to the conclusion that it just wasn't possible. What's interesting is that they've looked at Force.com in the last 3 years and decided it is absolutely possible with this platform, because in many respects there are similarities in the way the applications can work. So I think that's a point worth pointing out. So look, if anybody has any questions, please feel free. You can just ping me through your GoToWebinar control panel. What I'll do is I'll share any question and answers we have on a subsequent session. On the other side, we will be in touch with all of you to try and evaluate some of your requirements, indeed the questions you might have. We're absolutely more than happy to go into more detail on how this process works. We're conscious today is very much about presenting the proposition, presenting the idea, presenting the journey, if you like, for those of you who have Lotus Notes applications that are sitting on a server somewhere in your organization. You're reluctant to touch them because you know somebody somewhere in the organization is using them. You're reluctant to try and mobile enable them. Reporting is non-existent. How can we get them across to a platform where all of these features are very easily accessible? So for those of you who have questions and wish to understand more, we'll be in touch, and we can certainly deal with any of those queries on a one-to-one basis or what have you. We can organize to come and visit you or do another session like we've done today. So I think what we'll do is let's leave it there. I want to thank the guys from Salesforce, Dave and Julian, Wayne, Francois and Athena, and all of